Alright guys, quick little video today about the 2014 SVT GT500. I am going back on my word here just as a, I guess, experiment, maybe a long-term experiment here, but going back on my word as far as exhaust. So I gotta pull this thing out. And anyway, you read the title. We're going back to this guy right here, the stock mufflers. Right now it's fitted with the Borla attacks, and as much as I actually like them, I think I just might prefer stock. So we're gonna go ahead and discuss that as we get on in here, but let's go ahead and give the Borla attacks one last cold start. Not bad. So again, nothing wrong with the sound, but I guess we'll dive into it here as we get driving. I guess I'll just recap it really quickly. I got the car like 3 or 4 years ago or so. I'm losing track. And it was stock exhaust. And I always thought that it was just a little quiet, but the tone was really good. The stock exhaust tips looked really, really good. I love that sharp angle and kind of flush with the bumper look. The exhaust tone and sound itself was awesome. It was just so muffled. But one thing that was awesome, of course, on this generation of GT500 was the supercharger whine. But also owning a GT350 alongside this spoiled me for exhaust sound, and I always thought it just wasn't so satisfying to rev match this thing or to step on it just because the exhaust was so muted. But where it lacked there, it made up in the supercharger whine. So I tried a couple different things. I tried, hilariously enough, a MagnaFlow muffler delete. That didn't last more than like a couple hours. Last thing I did was what's on now. I did the Borla attacks based off what I saw on YouTube. It sounded really good, and sure enough, it did. And so it's been like that for maybe a couple years now, maybe a little longer. But I always said about the Borlas is just personal opinion here. I thought the soundtrack went up to the decibels I liked, but the tone itself and the sound went down some. So it wasn't as tasteful as I was hoping, but it was definitely a step in the right direction, at least at that time being. What I didn't want though is to lose the supercharger whine, and thankfully I didn't, but I only didn't if I was at like the high-end rev range, which on this car is over 60 miles an hour in first gear and then GL time at the top of second gear. So to get the supercharger whine, you have to really be on it way more than you would have been even before, and before you had to be on it pretty good. So there was just more induction sound, and it was more of what I think an SVT should be while stock. Now I say this, and there's a lot of people saying, no, you should do the stock mufflers, but do this X-pipe, do this, do that. Honestly, I was going back at older videos on this GT500, older videos I made, older point of view drive videos, and I'll probably insert some of that footage now. And in that footage, I just missed it. I just missed that induction sound, that supercharger whine, because I'm lucky enough to have several different cars. And so when I drive the GT350, it's all exhaust. When I drive the new GT500, it's 95% exhaust and at 5% induction sound. And this one, it was like 70% induction sound from the cabin anyway. From the outside, the exhaust actually didn't sound all that bad. So I kind of want to go back to that good old induction sound, to what, in my opinion, makes the SVT GT500 the SVT GT500. So that being said, let's go and give it one more drive to the shop and enjoy the exhaust. But I think I'm going to start liking that induction sound some more. So let's go ahead and get there. So the exhaust itself, I praised it in the initial video, but kind of lightly. I kind of grown to like it more. Then it plateaued, and then I just started missing the supercharger whine, just because maybe if I want all exhaust, there's other cars I can drive for that. And I really miss the iconic supercharger whine. Now it's still here, it's just, I don't know, hidden by the exhaust itself. Now the exhaust is tasteful on the startup, as you guys heard, and even mild acceleration. The only time it's like really egregious is wide open throttle, and even I will say it's a little much for that. So maybe the other exhaust, the Type S or S-Type or whatever Borla, would have been the move. I don't know, but to be honest, I'm kind of done with the trial and error. I remember how it was stock, and it's a very supercharger whiny kind of car, and going back to that sounds just fine with me. But for someone, it's just a different preference thing. There's nothing wrong with the exhaust. It's just maybe someone out there will prefer this level of exhaust as opposed to the supercharger whine. And for that, you know, good info to know. But I guess just because of the fact that I have this amongst other cars, and with that being said, I kind of save the cars for certain experiences. And what this has over the new GT500 and the GT350, or what it'll have over the GTD even, or anything else I own, is that iconic supercharger whine along with the liver axle. It's just very, very, I don't know. I remember this SVT GT500 a certain way, and I'm just bringing it back to that. But nothing wrong with the exhaust, if that makes sense. And I'll try at least just one time to give it enough revs to get the supercharger whine back in, but again, it's got to be at some pretty high revs. I mean, at 3,000 RPM, I floored it in third gear now. Yeah, I had to let off there. The thing is slipping, but even then, I heard it some, but it was all that thunderous exhaust, which again sounds good, but I guess it's just a matter of picking and choosing what's most important to you. And right now for this car, I think it's kind of how it was. A quick little drive with the Borlas as I'm going to the shop. So I guess next shot, we're gonna go ahead and go back to stock, and hopefully I made the right call, but pretty sure I will. All right, and with editing, you guys won't have to wait as long as I did, but stock exhaust back on. And we're just gonna go ahead and just get right to a drive, windows down. And hopefully, maybe when I get home, I'll get some external stuff, maybe a couple of baby revs and all that kind of stuff as well. But just when the shop was pulling the car out, maybe I talked myself into the car being quieter than it really was. It actually still sounds pretty good. And that's the tone I really think is way better than anything aftermarket. Yeah, okay, we're gonna go windows back up though. But that exhaust sound, for the sound itself and the demeanor, I think sounds so much better. I just kind of wished it was a little louder. But then with that, you lose that supercharger and oh, it's back. Even low revs like that. Oh yeah, if I stayed on it just a little longer, it would have got high pitch there. Stock exhaust was just fine for me. I think mostly also because my mindset is appreciating each car for its like individual soundtrack and just differences. And the fact is that this is just not going to be as loud as a GT350 or even the new GT500 from the exhaust. But appreciate that in the sense that the tone itself is awesome. The exhaust actually looks better in my opinion than aftermarket, the flush kind of cut exhaust, as well as hearing that supercharger. So maybe when this light turns green, I could open it up just a little bit more because it's been a while since I heard that, but definitely nice to have it back. Wow, what is going on with my tires? I don't think they're low on tread depth. Maybe they just need some temperature. It's almost 70 degrees out and still is not putting down the traction, but hey, that's the differences with the cars also. This thing is a wild animal. Gosh, sometimes I forget how powerful this freaking car is, man. Imagine this from 10 or 11 years ago. Oh my gosh. Yeah, happy to report I'm happy with my decision. The exhaust tone, there's enough of it, but it doesn't take away from what I like about it. Oh my gosh. Well, guys, the video is probably a little spotty the way I put it together, but just wanted a pretty brief before and after. I got a decent amount of time with it stock and then a decent amount of time with the boreless. And again, after so much time, I thought I missed the stock. And on that quick drive home, I think I made the right call. Stock is definitely more throaty than I remember it being. I think I probably just told myself that it's super quiet, but that's not totally the case. Maybe I was just spoiled by the GT350, and I gotta appreciate the car for its totally different nature, and that includes its soundtrack. So glad to have the supercharger whine back. And in fact, this makes me want to get some more videos out with this car. Probably do another point of view drive video pretty soon here. And I don't know, maybe try to get creative, put a couple mics by the exhaust, by the supercharger, and then an interior one, just to try to really capture just the emotion with this car, that supercharger whine. There's nothing like it. The SVT generation is really cool for that, and so got to own it. But yeah, just a little update on it. I was gonna do this without a video, but figured, you know what, I don't upload enough, so let's go ahead and get to it. But yeah, quick video on the SVT GT500 exhaust ordeal. I think I'm good the way it is now. So thanks for watching. See you guys next time.